For example, the color or that which is seen now, right now, is real. It has a reason. Otherwise, how can it appear? See, but no one understands this characteristic as a Dhamma, a kind of Dhamma. And not just the reality that can be seen. What about that which sees? Different reality. Because the reality which cannot experience or know anything, like sound, hardness, all these are realities which cannot experience anything. So what we take for I, or living being like animal, or no matter what planes, there must be another reality which experiences or know whatever appears. And the Pali term used the term rupa for any reality which cannot experience anything, like sound, smell, taste, touch. They cannot experience. So Buddha used the term rupa Dhamma. If there is only just rupa by conditions, the world is not like this. But the world of dukkha is the moment of experiences, and object not understand its nature as it just arises and falls away. So there is condition to cling to that which is seen. Even that which is seen has fallen away yesterday or a moment ago, but memory still cling. Take it for something permanent, like now we're sitting here, see? But actually each moment or each reality is so short, quite short, beyond expectation or anyone can know. Otherwise, everyone can experience the arising and falling away, the impermanence. But why can't them? Because realities arise and falls away unknowingly, and it goes on like something permanent all the time. For example, like when one is fast asleep, where is that person? Where are we? At moment of being fast asleep, the world does not appear. But whenever there is seeing, the world appears. And at moment of hearing, the world and other world appear. See, there are only 6 worlds, but they arise alternately so fast that they come together like something like I or something permanent. That's why before he can enlighten the true nature of realities, it took quite a long, long time to become detached from clinging the samudaya. That should be eliminated until it's completely eradicated. Like the Four Noble Truths, if one has still cling to the result, the I wanting to experience or to have panya, it hinders, it closes the door, the path to become enlightened. Because even right now, who knows that realities arise and falls away? Those who have developed right understanding, until the attachment or the clinging to the objects is lesser and lesser and lesser. Nothing can hinder the true nature of the arising and falling away right now. So it's the matter of understanding from hearing, considering, and really understand what Dhamma is. Because most people think that it's in the book. Just talk about the Four Noble Truths or the Paticcasamuppada or Ayatana. But it's this moment, Ayatana. See, the Cakkupasada is the inner, and the visible object which is seen is the outer. Both are ayatana, cakkayatana and rupayatana. See, no one can condition seeing, because even seeing as ayatana is conditioned by many, many conditions. Without the previous moment, there can never be seeing. And when the object is pleasant, who condition the seeing to experience that? The kusala kamma which has done, no matter how long this life or other life, can condition seeing pleasant object when time comes only. But when it's not the time for the kusala vipaka, that person cannot see the pleasant object. So there are many, many conditions for anything to arise in split seconds. Each must be conditioned by not just single condition at all. By this way, one learns to understand the wisdom of Buddha and his compassion to teach the other to understand reality like him, because some has accumulation of saddha and panya to see the value of the understanding of the teaching. So it's just about any time, any moment. We never lost the Dhamma at all. Yeah. It's about just to eliminate lesser and lesser attachment to all objects which are experienced through the six doorways. Because there's attachment unknowingly all the time so fast. Like Buddha said that the rupa lasts for 17 moments of citta. The citta arises and falls away faster than a kalapa of rupa. So he said that one rupa lasts for 17 moments. The citta and cetasika arise together and falls away 17 times. One rupa arises. And now, at the moment of seeing and the moment of hearing cannot be simultaneously at the same time, because it's conditioned by different conditions. And the seeing consciousness without the eye base or eye sense, it's impossible to arise. But it seems like they arise together. So how fast 17 moments would be? Faster than we can imagine. And before one rupa has fallen away, attachment is there. Because it's not just one moment of seeing, there are the following cittas which experience the same object which hasn't fallen away yet. And it's time for akusala to arise before one tiny slupa, karapa, fall away. So each day the akusala is accumulated from moment of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking all day. And how many days from birth? And how many would be before death? See? So it's only the teaching of Buddha which can help people to understand, but actually one clings to that which arises and falls away. Like the bare hand, when it's like this, we think that we cling. Something is here inside, but actually there's nothing. Yeah, it's like each moment, previous moment's gone. See, so it cannot be I or anyone at all. All namas and rupas, all conditioned realities. So one cannot expect how long one will take to develop right understanding. When one reads about the previous life of the Savaka and Therateri, they had developed quite long time. For Sariputta, one asankaya and 100,000 kappa to be the great disciples. And for the others, about 100 kappa. Kappa is not a day, not a month, not a life, uncountable lives. So when one has opportunity to hear Dhamma, it's not just luck or happening. It comes from previous accumulation. And by having such very deep and certain confidence, one keep on developing understanding, because Buddha taught people to understand by different ways, not just sit and know nothing. And so when people do not study carefully about the Satchayana, Kichayana, and Katayana, no Satchayana, no Pariyatti. So how come the understanding. When the person who want to develop or to bhavana or patipatti, because they don't know that pariyatti is the very well versed foundation of understanding of Dhamma, that nothing can move sati, sampajanya, away from reality right now. Because usually one keeps on moving away from seeing to thinking about what is seen and the story of what is seen. And at moment of hearing, no attention, no satta, no sati to understand hearing as a reality which hears no one at all. And by not understanding the teachings, one turn away from hearing and think lots about what is heard. See, and life is like this, no matter where in the world or in heaven. When one hasn't listened to the teachings yet, how can one know about reality right now as the teachings of the Buddha, the enlightened one? He kept on teaching and teaching from the early time of his enlightenment until nearly at his death, just to help people to see the value of understanding in order to have less and less attachment. Otherwise, there can never be a moment of experiencing Nibbana at all. Not knowing reality right now as just conditioned reality, no self, the idea of I will develop or I will do something or patipatti in order to gain Nibbana is useless. No understanding, because it's no one who experiences Nibbana the highly developed Panya, which can understand realities at any time by listening, considering, which can be conditioned for direct awareness. Because now seeing is this moment is not the previous one, and the next one of the previous moment is the present one, and then this one is past again. See, yeah. So it's so precious to understand the depth of the teaching and really seeing Buddha when one understands his teaching. Otherwise, it's just a statue only. But the teaching is not the statue, and he didn't ask anyone to be the teacher because he had taught everything so well. Each word is truth, like Dhamma. In Thailand, some people take time going north, west, south to look for Dhamma. But when anyone understands what Dhamma is, one doesn't have to go anywhere because any moment is Dhamma. So it depends on understanding from hearing and considering as pariyatti, which can condition patipatti, which the Thai use the term patibat. Patipatti means that which reaches reality with right understanding from pariyatti. Without hearing and considering as pariyatti, no conditions for direct awareness to begin to understand reality, which is so very deep. For example, who can think about that which is eye base or eye sense as ayatana at moment of seeing? See, at this moment, what is seen is ayatana, and seeing itself, the manayatana, and the pasatharupa is chakayatana, and cetasikas, which arise with the seeing, is dhammayatana. All four have to be presented at that moment, or now at this moment. See? So people just read about ayatana and can remember the 6 and the 12, but not knowing ayatana right now. Yes, the living one, the real one, not the past one. So by understanding ayatana at moment of experiencing anything, it is ayatana right then. And not just one ayatana, not just only the inner, and the outer, but Chitta, Cetasika, and Rupa, right then. All are conditioned just to condition one moment of seeing that which arise and fall away. No matter what we take for a permanent thing, okay? Because sanya, memory. And in Tipitaka it says about the nimitta of the five khandas. Okay? It shows that there cannot be the understanding of one characteristic of a reality at a time. Because right now, who can tell the moment of seeing before moment of like or dislike, reality which appears.
So right view with understanding is
right.
Appreciate that very much. Very glad to yes.
Very kind, very kind.
Really appreciate their kusala and
that's right.
kindness. Yes, good neighbors to have.
And they send me a card.
Yes, Sarah, that was a very good observation about knowing the difference between kusala and a gusala.
Yes.
The difference is to feel the coarseness of akusala citta.
When there's
when it's coarse and not coarse.
When one's thinking about the pain or one's suffering or one's bad situation with dosa, it's very coarse, very hard. Opposite when there's kindness or understanding or appreciating the neighbor's good deeds, then it's soft and gentle at those moments.
So you know when you have a better idea when the citta is kusala and when it's akusala. Yeah. This is true.
And being preoccupied with results, being preoccupied with the pain or the accident or the disturbance, from the development of understanding and any kusala. And none of it belongs to me. It's not my result or I who am suffering. They're just different dharmas conditioned in different ways. They can't be any other way.
Yes.
I think most people are here now. Ajahn, are you here now?
ค่ะสวัสดีทุกคนค่ะสวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะอาจารย์
สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์
Okay.
Ajahn, I was just telling Nina I was listening to an old recording on a walk this morning because recently Nina's had quite a lot of difficulty. And I was saying on this recording, she'd had an accident and you were giving a very good reminder about when there's dosa and the citta is so coarse and hard, but when one isn't preoccupied with the results or the pain or the difficulty, but there is kusala or understanding, then the citta is light or soft. And usually we are all so concerned about the results of karma, but what about the understanding and the kusala now that will bring its effect in future? Anyway, so they were very good reminders for anyone when they're having pain or have an accident or anything.
Right, yes.
And even there's no pain now, it's good to think about the truth.
Yes. Any moment.
Ajahn, I find sometimes one sentence from what you say, it's so precious to think it over. We don't think it over enough because you said, as long as it is only thinking, considering about a word, it's not wise consideration, letting go. Attachment is there. It hinders the understanding of what arises and what falls away. only a few words, but it is so very helpful, because nobody else ever reminds us that the Dhamma is so near, and understanding of the present moment is not far away, as you often say. And you also said something very helpful, the characteristic of that which experiences begins to show up little by little. Because usually we are thinking of this table, of this chair, or this hardness, this rupa, and all forgetting about that there is an experiencing, and we take it for self. So I find we can't hear that enough, that there is an experiencing which is not self, because if we don't know it, we take it for self. And I find this very helpful to consider.
Because each word develops understanding of whatever is now. Because usually there are conditions to think about other things. Only when there's thinking or hearing about what Buddha said, then it's just the precious moment to begin to know that it's just for understanding that which is now appearing. But no one can force it to arise at all. It depends on understanding the word deeper and deeper, that even how much one knows about or thinks about, it's only I all the time. But when there's more understanding or thinking or reconsidering about what is now, see, even just the word that which sees, the experiencing, see, it does not show up as it is as not self. But from hearing again and again and having more confidence, it works. All dhammas are working together, sankhara khanda. No one knows because actually there's no one, but all realities which are hidden now working, performing functions all the time until the moment when right understanding begins. It begins with that which appears unexpectedly as very natural as now, beginning to study more, to understand a little more about the experiencing and that which experience. So it can be just right now, any moment, any time. It has to be like this. No expectation, but understand more about actually what is said in Tipitaka, like there is nothing. From nothing there are conditions for dhatu, condition the arising of that which experiences and that which is experienced, but ignorance is there. So there are so many things in the world or in this world, the body and mind here, not understand that which is now appearing until it show up to panya only, because panya begins to understand what is there. For example, that which remembers is now, it's there, see? And the feeling, it's now and it's here. All are here, but it depends on what is the object, what show up as the object of experiencing with understanding directly. That's all. No one there at all. Understand the truth that actually there's no one. And what is the truth of that which is now appearing? Begin to understanding it little by little. That it is conditioned to arise just to be experienced and then never to be there at all. It falls away. Absolutely. It cannot be there anymore. The other thing succeeds instantly. That's all. From moment to moment. And this is life from the beginning, birth, to the end, death.
And I agree with Nina that that reminder of Ajahns is very helpful, that the characteristic of that which experiences begins to be known or to show up little by little. And as Nina said, the reason is that we're so taken with the object being experienced that there's never any attention or thought given to the actual experiencing of the object. And it's useful also for another reason, that it reminds us that every citta, whether it's whichever doorway or whatever the object, has in common the characteristic or the attribute, if you like, of experiencing an object. So it doesn't matter. Sometimes we may be confused as to which doorway the citta is arising at or whatever. It doesn't really matter, because all experiencings have in common that characteristic, that it is experiencing an object to be known. And similarly, all rupas have in common the attribute of not being able to experience an object. So thank you, Ajahn, for that reminder, and thank you, Nina, for bringing it up again.
Yeah, nobody else ever reminds us of this. It's really something obvious, but it's here from Ajahn, it seems the first time, and I'm very happy that this is emphasized again and again, since we forget. It's really precious. We should really appreciate all these words.
And another good reminder at the end of the discussion last week was that the understanding of reality now as not self is far more important than thinking about all the stories we read, which will all be forgotten sooner or later. And that the point of the Tipitaka is to see that life, whatever arises in life, is not permanent and is conditioned now. And it's just the nimitta of the reality which appears. Otherwise, there is always clinging to one story after another, instead of just understanding what appears at this very moment, because life is just now, not any other time. And I think the point was also made about phassa. So what is experienced now? It just depends on what phassa contacts. So no one can decide at any moment what will experience or what will be experienced. So it just depends now on what phassa contacts as to whether there is seeing now or hearing, or what kind of experience, what object is experienced, what kind of visible object, what kind of sound. So even though phassa doesn't appear, it helps a lot to understand that phassa at each moment contacts the object, conditioning the experience of it.
Yes, because when I had my fall down and I was lying on the floor, and I never knew that this would happen, and I called out, "Help, help," but nobody heard me because people are working, and it was so strange. I never thought I would experience this.
We never know what karma will condition at any moment. And we think of the fall on the floor and the whole situation, but actually they're still just different moments of seeing and hearing, painful bodily feeling, thinking. Yeah. And sometimes even the not so much pain, but there's so much thinking about the situation. So
yeah, because I'm all alone, and who will hear me? And
so thinking about how will I manage, who will hear me, and so immediately thinking about the long story. But actually, it's just lots of seeing and hearing and thinking.
Yeah. And then I had sudden help because a neighbor came by, and he could put me up. He was very clever, so and that helped a lot.
Yeah, that's not easy to do. You're very lucky.
Yeah. No, but he's used to getting on with older people, he said.
Opportunities for the neighbors to show their
arms and lifted me. That was a strange ending. Very strange.
Can I ask some question? I was thinking about concept Paramat, Nimitta, then Panyati. Like I understand that like through eyes, through eye doorway, when we suddenly open eyes and then we saw many things and all that, that is nimitta of what appears through eye doorway. In the ear doorway is a word, sound is in pinch, but the word and all that is the story of different sound and all that. Now, and the other senses or other body senses also same like type. But now what I want to ask is, even like when we have feeling like headache or stomach pain and all that, those are different kind of pain. But even that also is a concept, right? Because like nimitta of Vedana, that is there is reality. That's why you can distinguish between headache or toothache or maybe stomach pain and all that. But this is still also not it's just a story, right? Because of continuously rising and falling of Vedana.
Well, the pain itself is a reality. The thinking about the pain and giving it a name is mind process.
Mm-hmm.
And the object of that is concept. The object of that thinking is concept.
Yeah, but even pain also we can say like many type. Toothache is not same as headache. Stomach pain is not same like Like there's many kind of, we can say that like, and for example even like those are fear, anger, whether depressed and all that is, they are all dosa, but we can distinguish because it.
Yes, but in the case of pain, the experiencing through the body sense is just the same selection of realities: hardness, softness, temperature, and pressure. So always, whether it's headache or toothache or tummy ache, it's always a combination of those three rupas.
Yeah,
but then there's the thinking about it.
But when we start thinking that headache, stomachache, toothache is all concept, it's just thinking.
Well, it's thinking, and thinking in terms of concept. So, but the pain is there, is real.
The pain is there, yes.
The rupa that is being experienced through the body sense is a reality.
But when it comes to, this pain is different from that pain, that is story already.
Right. Because when it's hardness that's experienced by the unpleasant bodily feeling, then hardness is just hardness. There's no hardness that is this one or that one. It's just hardness, the reality. So it's thinking that says, it's the hardness is in my arm or my leg or my stomach. In reality, there is no arm or leg or stomach. It's just hardness that is experienced by that painful feeling at that moment.
So nimitta of like in eye doorway, so like many things, people and computer is all concept. So even Vedana and Chitta also the same way, right?
Like now, it's just like now. So it's just that which is visible, that which is seen, and what is experienced, what can be known is the nimitta of what is visible. But as soon as there's an idea of shape or colors or this one or that one, it's not the visible object which is seen or the nimitta of the visible object. It's thinking about different visible objects in different places or different kinds or different shapes. And it's just the same with the hardness or the other experience that is experienced by the painful feeling. Just the hardness or the temperature or the motion, but instantly there's the idea of my painful arm and so on.
And the thinking about what is being experienced through the different sense doors is just a fact of life in samsara, because even for the enlightened being, it's a similar thing. The sense door experiences are all followed by lots of thinking about what has been experienced. And you could say the making of stories, because that's just how it is. That is the nature of the mind, to think of stories about what is being experienced. But of course, for the enlightened being, it's with less kilesa than us, but it doesn't affect the basic pattern of life in that respect.
Even Buddha would see the same like us, or no matter who.
even the Buddha would know headache is headache and toothache is toothache instantly without having to stop and think about it, as it were.
But headache and toothache and all are just concept. But there is reality. That's why we know that pain is there. But when it's headache,
and because of memory, there's thinking about different hardness, different softness, different painful feeling.
And it's thinking that's based on sensed or experiences. So just to say it's only concept it is true, it's only concept, but a lot of the conceptual thinking is based, so the idea of a table or of a TV monitor is a concept that's based on what is being experienced at the moment. So anyone who's looking at a laptop screen like we are will have the concept of a monitor and so forth. That's normal.
Also, the concepts are based on memory as well. So it's feeling and memory. So because otherwise, if we experience some object or Dhamma that never experienced before, we absolutely never had any experience of it, then it becomes complicated with the story, because you have to base it on your memory of former experience.
Right, memory has a role.
It's based on that. Okay.
But if they have to have memory in every moment of citta, then story cannot be. It cannot be the idea of all that. But there is memory every moment.
Sorry, Harji, say again.
Means what I'm saying that memory arises with all citta, sanya. So if there was not memory, there cannot be idea of thinking, oh, the shape monitor or all this, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Marking and remembering it every single moment.
But if there's no understanding of the absolute reality, can there be the understanding of concept?
No.
That's why you use the term concept. But what about the truth? At any moment when there is the idea, or even what's that? See, that is concept in mind, not understanding the truth of it, the characteristic of it as just a reality which is conditioned. It's there and then no more. No understanding of reality and the succession of the rapidity of reality, condition or appears as shape and form, or even not as shape and form, even just that is concept, because not understanding it as just a reality which is there by conditions. It has to arise, and even at that very moment it falls away, but it's unknown that it has arisen and fallen away already, because the succession of the realities which follow. But you see that when we use the word concept as the word to thought about, it's not the understanding, the truth of the reality. There must be the understanding of the reality, and so understand what is concept, which is not the absolute reality. Even something like lightning, see, very short and very quick. What's that? When there's no understanding, no one knows at all. What is that? It's lightning, or it's the happening of electricity. We don't know. What is that? What is that? Or what is this? When it's what is, it is concept already. When there's no understanding of the truth. So when reality appears, the understanding of the characteristic as it is, as one reality at a time, at that moment, it's still concept. It's not concept, but it's the nimitta of that which arises and falls away. And when we think about just a reality, and how many realities, each one arises and falls away in succession, no understanding, and they appear together as something, and that something is concept because of not understanding the truth of different ones. When there's no direct understanding and enough intellectual understanding to condition understanding of the truth of that very moment. So there must be the realities, but there are so many realities. The right understanding and ignorance are different, but everything which is there has to arise by conditions, but the arising and falling away is not known. That's why the succession of that appears as nimitta. No idea yet, but it appears the appearance of nimitta, not as just one. Condition the idea of thing or that or this, and that is concept from nimitta. If there's no nimitta, no arising and falling away of realities at all, how can there be nimitta of even just one characteristic? And when there's so many characteristics appear together, who can tell whether that is that which is seen or that which is smelled or what? It appears just one at a time, but even so, only one cannot be known by the process. It has to have many processes now, uncountable. That's why the appearance of one as nimitta of that characteristic, not just many together, and then one where there are many realities arising as shape and form together, it as nimitta of something, not just only one nimitta. And then the idea, what's that? It's concept. When it's that, see, it's concept, no matter of the shape and form or nimitta of a characteristic like anger there. See, not just one process, not just one moment of anger, but many moments of anger. So there must be the nimitta of anger. And then what is that as concept? No matter it's rupa or nama.
And Ajahn, can we say that whenever there is concept, there is, which of course is not a reality having a characteristic to be known, there is
Right.
also thinking, which is a reality that has a characteristic that can be known.
Yeah, that's right. Without reality, without that which experiences, there cannot be concept. The tree does not have any concept. A child, baby, newly born, still have concept of what's that. No word yet, but what appears as not known as it is. So it appears as something or as something. And when it's thing, it's concept.
Ajahn, can I, so like I understand that because there's many succession arising and falling of repetitive of Dhamma, like for example, anger, but when there is anger that, fear or angry or depressed, that's all are just story, right? Because it's just anger that is real.
Before the story, what is that?
Just Dhamma.
There must be nimitta, right? And so before there can be nimitta, there must be reality. Without reality cannot be nimitta. And without nimitta cannot be concept.
And
For
the
example,
reality
just
is
the
just
strange sound. The sound. What is that sound? See? The idea of that sound, particular that. Different sound, see? The sound of human being or the sound of deva or the sound of anyone or anything, frog or whatever. When there's, what's that? That is not concept. You don't know whether it's frog or what, but it's that. That is concept. And there must be nimitta of that to show the difference, to be remembered as what is that, is not the other thing.
And I was going to say the same about the different kinds of dosa. So slight irritation or strong annoyance or fear or uneasiness, just as it is, different at each moment. So what's that? What's that? So different kinds of dosa, different moments.
But when we say
I'm
fear
thinking
or
about-
depressed or angry, that is just story, right?
But the kind of dosa that experiences at that moment is different at each moment. So when it's strong anger and when it's irritation, it's not the same. Each one is different, even though each one is a kind of dosa.
Those.
But so the nimitta is of the nimitta of that reality at that moment, no matter it's the irritation or the unease, just as it is, just like each visible object is different.
I-
Kind of attachment is different.
I mean, I understand, like, okay, fear and slight irritation or very annoyed or getting angry is different, although they are same dosa, but because dosa also is different, that's why these also appear like differently. But even when we start talking about fear, scared, annoyed, and all that, it's already concept, right?
But if there wasn't the reality of the fear arising, there wouldn't be any thinking about the idea of that fear. So it doesn't matter what word is used, but that reality, when it arises, is just as it is, different from when it's just a slight
Irritation.
irritation. Yes, just exactly as it is. Even though no word is used, but when it arises, it can be known it's different. It's just, but it's just a kind of dosa.
It's kind of dosa, I understand, but then and that we can say that fear is not same as irritation and all that, because dosa also that have arisen is different.
Many different kinds of dosa, many different kinds of attachment,
Uh,
many different kinds of anything, conceit, any reality, many different sounds, many different tastes, even though each one is taste or each one is sound.
like for example, taste, when we talk about salt, sweet and all that, that is already a concept, right?
But even so, when tasting the food at lunchtime, even when no words are used and there's no consideration of the Dharma, still each taste is different.
Yeah.
The salty taste is not the same as the sweet taste.
But salty and sweet is already a concept.
When thinking about it now, we're thinking about concepts, but at the moment of tasting, the taste
Actual
is just as it is, salty or sweet or bitter, just as it is.
So any label for anything is a concept. Even a label of a reality is a label, is a concept. But if we're talking about things that are being experienced, then one can be talking about a reality. So one can talk about sweet taste to describe a particular taste that's being experienced. But one can only describe realities by concepts.
Yeah, but I understand that there are different tastes and all that. But then when it even just thinking of sweet or salty or sour, it's already a concept, right?
Well, the object of thinking is always a concept. And it's natural for there to be thinking about every reality that's being experienced. That is the way it goes. That is life in samsara. A lot of thinking about the realities currently being experienced.
Even so, the taste of mango is not the same as the taste of a chili pepper. So the taste is different, even though instantly there's thinking about the different tastes and the one likes or dislikes, but the taste itself, what is experienced, is not the same.
But when it comes like taste of apple and mango, this is all concept.
What's concept?
Concept
is the object of thinking. So
no, I know that taste is reality, like, okay, like for example, eye wave, we say there's blue and black and all that. That is already a concept, but there has to be different kind of visible object to think like that.
Exactly. And the same with tastes and same with sounds.
I have a question about what Arji is saying. When we feel a pain in some part of our body, maybe, I don't know if I understand it right. Maybe we feel something and there is also a thought, a label applied to this Dharma. And this label is a thought which says, this thing is not good. I have to avoid it. This thing is not good. So a pain is made by two things: a dharma, a phenomena inside the body, and the label which is not inside the body, which is a thought, a sentence, and which says to me, this thing is not good, and I didn't choose this thought. It appears instantly.
From the beginning, and I'm glad to see you back, David. From the beginning, we have to understand that there are two kinds of realities. Those realities which experience an object, such as seeing or hearing or touching, bodily experience, and those realities that don't experience anything, such as sound or hardness or temperature. So when it seems that I feel a pain, actually what is there that is experiencing at that moment? Is there any I that experiences anything, or what experiences and what is experienced at that moment? Because
yes,
the I that feels a pain is the fantasy. Actually, there's just a moment of bodily experience with painful feeling, which also experiences the object. And what is experienced now through the body sense? For example, at the moment of touching what we consider to be our arm, what is experienced at this moment?
So there is no I which is experiencing.
No I that is experiencing. That's just the touching, the bodily experience, which experiences for a moment, yes, and then gone instantly. And each moment of experiencing has to be accompanied by a feeling, a pleasant, an unpleasant, or a neutral feeling. And at the moment of experiencing through the body, either the feeling is pleasant or unpleasant. When it's very unpleasant, we call it painful feeling. So it's just the feeling that arises with the bodily experience for a moment and then is gone. And what is experienced, what is touched, is just the rupa that is touched, the hardness, softness, the temperature, or the motion. So the idea that I feel a pain, it's just an idea, just a fantasy, because where is the I that can experience anything, even at this moment? Is there any I that can experience anything?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I understand. I think there is also some sort of what is the question is, what is the thing which made us distinguish between pleasant and unpleasant? In which way we can say that something is pleasant and something unpleasant. I think, in my experience, it is a sort of message which appears, a sort of thought which appears and tells me this thing is not good. A sort of message.
Well, I would say that that thinking follows after the actual experiencing of hardness or temperature, whichever it is that the body sense is experiencing. Because the body sense, the body consciousness rather, arises not just when we touch something outside, but it arises to experience pleasant and painful object, hardness and softness and temperature within the body, also within what we call the body. So when that the object of that experiencing is unpleasant, that is what triggers the thought that it's a painful experience. And when that object that's experienced by the body consciousness is pleasant in nature, then that is what triggers the thought that this is a nice experience, a comfortable a bodily experience. So it doesn't require the thinking in order for the actual experience to be pleasant or unpleasant, because that occurs first before the thinking body.
When there's, for example, when one steps into a very cold shower and there's unpleasant feeling, it's different from when one steps into a shower that's just the right temperature and there's pleasant feeling instantly. So pleasant feeling and unpleasant feeling are not the same. And usually there's so much clinging to pleasant feeling and no one likes unpleasant feeling. So we spend a lot of time trying to have pleasant feeling, but actually each moment is conditioned. And so there are different experiences which are followed instantly by clinging and thinking about the pleasant experience or the unpleasant experience. So painful feeling is not the same as pleasant feeling, but it's just for a moment, and it's not my painful feeling. It's not I who experiences pain. It's just a moment of experience and then gone, followed, as you say, by thinking about many stories and about my experience.
Yes.
Hi, David. Excuse me. Hi. I'm glad to see you too. Maybe it would be nice if you introduce yourself to Ajahn and to everybody here, so they can have understand better what you are talking about. Can you just say introduce just briefly?
Yeah.
You know.
Yes. I'm. I like Buddhism, and sorry for my English, it's difficult for me. I studied I've studied for I think 10 years Buddhism. In my life, I am a doctor. I practice anesthesia, and just in last year. I made a different job choice because I now am a palliativist. I made palliative care. I made palliative care. So I'm interested in this kind of
You're interested in pain management.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
But maybe the first interest in Dharma was because of my personal emotional problems and anxiety, I think. Then I also now find that it is useful also in reflecting about pain, about also big, difficult pain which people meet at the end of life. And so I think it's useful to reflect about pain in a philosophical way. So in my experience, I try to make a classification of the dharmas with what appears to me, and I found a sort of schematic, simplified method to speak about realities. And so also I found also the senses. We have in our mental world eye, ears, and what appears to the senses, and also what appears to the body. But different from these realities is the reality of thought, which is what is not senses, what is not inside the body, is just a message, label. So this is my analysis of what appears to me now.
Well, thanks for that introduction, and I suppose I understand why Alberto suggested you tell us your background. It probably doesn't very much affect how we discuss the Dhamma, but it's interesting to keep it in mind. The most important thing as we go on, and Ajahn will speak now, I'm sure, is that one understands that the Dhamma is to be understood for oneself, and it's not a means of living in the world as such. It doesn't change the way one lives in the world or practices one's profession. It can't help to solve scientific or medical issues, but nonetheless an understanding of the Dhamma is bound to help one to be better in whatever one does.
And a common misunderstanding is that when we learn that there are just these different dharmas and the painful bodily feeling is just a nama, just an unpleasant feeling that arises for a moment of bodily experience, and that the real problems are all the thinking and dwelling on the pain with aversion. And some people see a conflict, so then they think that perhaps they shouldn't go to a doctor or have proper care. But this is the wrong understanding. Daily life carries on as usual. Pain management, your area, is very important. And so one carries on with one's daily life, visiting doctors, getting care, taking different medicines, whilst understanding more and more about the different realities as just being dharmas that arise and fall, not belonging to anyone. So there's no conflict at all.
Thank you.
Thank you for your introduction. Very interesting. Ajahn, would you like to add more?
I think that we live in the world of concept, right? Without concept, how can we live? But how come concept, what is it? Without the absolute realities, there cannot be anything at all. But when there is reality arising, and it arises and falls away so very rapidly until it cannot be known, but what can be known is the nimitta. So we begin to understand little by little from how come to have Panyati, because there must be the absolute truth, Citta, Cetasika, and Rupa, and they arise and fall away in split seconds. And what is seen is only nimitta of each, because one cannot be seen or experienced at all. And that is the absolute truth. So when they arise so very rapidly, what appears is the nimitta, the mark or the sign of something. Even it comes down to just very little, like hardness, it's still something. See, as something is nimitta, that which is made known as its heart. So we live in the world of nimitta. At moment of seeing, we know where to go, where to sit on, and so on, or nimitta. That's why nimitta is that which comes together, and then it made known as something all the time. But we can understand the absolute truth, which is the cost of that. Without the absolute truth, there is nothing. But when there must be that which no one can make it arise, but there are conditions for its arising and falls away. So we begin to understand a little better that actually it's not just a permanent thing at all, that there must be many different realities arising together and appear as something that we take it for something all the time, because not seeing the arising and falling away, not knowing that actually before that there is nothing, and then something, and then nothing, so very rapidly. So the world appears as shape and form, nimitta, and it made known as something. Snake, for example, that is that which is seen, same color as other color, maybe yellow or white or black, but we take it for snake or for frog, different panjati, because that is made known as different thing. That's all.
But Than Ajahn, even before we think of snake, even when we say yellow or white or blue, this is already all just a concept, right?
There must be nimitta, and then thinking about it as something, like snake or bottle. See, it made known. It is made known as it is as something to be used. Shoes, spoon, fork, and so on. Only different colors, nimitta, make it different, the shape and form. And the idea, taking it for something, is panjati. So panjati is so very common, because there must be mind door process after the sense door process to come together as something permanent,
but
to be used differently.
Than Ajahn, even for example, suppose like yes, shape and form and all that, but for example, there's just completely, suppose black background, and we see the color black. Black is already nimitta also, right?
There must be nimitta, because the rapidity of the arising and falling away of all dhammas, which is made known as something, panjati. Without nimitta, how can there be panjati? Without paramata dhamma, how can there be nimitta? But when there is paramata dhamma, and the succession of the arising and falling so fast, so it becomes to be nimitta, shape and form. Even the same color, see, the shade is different. It forms up something like snake and frog. That is panjati. Even it's only that which is seen only, but different shape and form, different material, different dhatu together. And there are atta panjati, see? Even we don't say, speak out, but we take it for something different from the other. That is panjati. That's all. Even the tiny ant has panjati.
Yes. I mean, no one can be away from nimitta. That is reality. Whether one's enlightened already, they still have still thinking and all that, but no wrong with it.
And the mind or process take the nimitta as something.
It doesn't matter whether us or Buddha or anyone else or other Aryas, they still thinks that is nature of Dhamma, right?
Even Buddha, he knew who's Ananda and who's Sariputta. So very common, as long as there are Paramada Dhammas, absolute truth. There must be nimitta and there must be panyati for different nimittas. It's only object of thinking, because seeing just arise to see, only that. No nimitta, no anything, because it just arises to see only, not to think.
And Harji, I notice you often bring up the question of the different colors as whether or not it's thinking. So they do not form part of the characteristic of visible object, if that answers your question. So it's part of the shape and form of the visible object rather than the characteristic. So when we talk about understanding the characteristic of visible object, it's not about understanding a color. It's about understanding what is just being experienced by visual consciousness, that reality. Even though it appears as a color of one form or another, but the characteristic is that which is the object of visual consciousness.
And even through sound, like low pitch, high pitch, many word, and taste, smell, body senses also same.
All aspects of shape and form.
Sarah, no voice.
David, is there anyone who can avoid anything or choose anything or decide what kind of feeling will arise now?
No, maybe there somebody is more able to put his attention to things, and so if you can concentrate better, maybe you can choose where you put your attention, but sometimes it's difficult because Dharma arise which make your attention shift to other things.
Like right now, there is seeing. Can you decide what will be the object of attention at this very moment?
Maybe I can choose now. Even if I look at my laptop, maybe I can choose to put my attention to my hand and feel more attention to the sensations of the hand. But this is possible just in a not in every moment.
It's just a conceptual idea. Conventionally, we can say, I can choose whether to go left or right, or whether to look at the computer or look out of the window. But it's actually just thinking at this moment. And this thinking about the computer or thinking about the window, can anyone make that thinking arise, or does that thinking just arise by its own conditions?
Just arise, I think, yes.
And is it I that thinks, or does thinking arise by conditions and think about this or that?
Maybe just arise, yes. I don't know.
Thinking arises. For example, who knows what we're going to hear next? So what will thinking think about? Will it think about what is seen now, or will it think about the computer? Because each moment of thinking is conditioned by the habit and accumulation from the past. So
yes,
it seems there is an I that can decide or choose what to experience. But in truth, each moment of seeing, each moment of hearing, each moment of thinking is conditioned and falls away instantly. And it's just an idea when there's thinking that I can choose. It's just a fantasy that there is an I that can choose what to experience. If I could choose, no one would choose to have painful feeling now. Everyone would choose pleasant feeling all the time. Everyone would choose to see pleasant objects or hear pleasant sounds. But actually, no I that can choose anything. So what we learn is each reality in life at each moment arises by different causes, different conditions. And it's just a fantasy that there's an I that can decide or control or choose anything.
And I just want to add to Sarah's point, David. If there's the idea of do, can selection, it means it doesn't, that moment didn't understand the Dhamma. If understand that is Dhamma, everything is uncontrollable. When like we conventionally say that, okay, I open my laptop, I choose to close my eyes and all that. What is that? It's just referring to Dhamma that arise and do it. It's not that thinking, it's not David who thinks. It's thinking to see the to see laptop or thinking to move left or right. Is it David think or thinking is a Dhamma, which is not David? Can you say something?
And David, you mentioned concentration, and I'd like to ask whether concentration is wholesome or unwholesome or what?
I think wholesome.
Why is it wholesome?
Because it's useful in life to maintain your consciousness for a long time on something.
Can we say concentration could be put to good use or bad use?
Also bad use can be, yes.
So how does one know when the concentration is wholesome or unwholesome?
I think if it produces good for your and others' well-being, I think.
So concentration can be, as you say, can be developed, but it's only wholesome concentration when the consciousness is wholesome.
Yes.
There's no such thing as good concentration in the abstract. It is concentration. Concentration is wholesome if the citta is a wholesome citta. So when there is generosity, or when consideration or respect or metta or helping other people, etc., at such moments, when those moments are wholesome, if they are, they're not always, but if they are, then the concentration that is being developed at such times is wholesome. But concentration is not something that can be developed in the abstract and therefore be and then put to good use. So by developing any kind of wholesomeness, then wholesome concentration is developed. And attending to, using concentration to attend to realities as we talk about them is done with the idea of being able to condition the arising of some kind of awareness or something. So it's not the same as awareness of realities that arises spontaneously by conditions because of one's understanding of the Dhamma. So there's a distinction there to be made. It's like there can be a kind of practice of concentrating on what is appearing now, but that is not the awareness and understanding of which the Buddha spoke. That's not wholesome moments of awareness. That is the idea of the self who can have more awareness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David, and like what John said, it's just when the idea of my concentration to put, then it is of me who can control Dhamma, and that is not understanding Dhamma. That is no one. Concentration is just a Dhamma, not that David can do something. I can put a concentration. I do this, do that. Then there is no I. There is no one. It's Dhamma. And when we say that, okay, move, I chose to turn left, turn right, and all that. What is that? That is not me. There's no David. There's no one. But there is a thinking that arises, not you, or there's really you who thinks. So it has to come that whether understanding the Dhamma or not. That is just Dhamma.
Yes. Thank you.
Robert, were you trying to say something? I'm not sure if you're waving a hand or not.
Did you say me, Sarah? Did you ask me?
I wasn't sure. It looks like there's a hand. I didn't know if you were trying to.
That's the
Oh,
mouse.
maybe it's Jonathan's mouse. Sorry,
That's the mouse hand.
No
Sorry.
worries.
No,
Thank you.
that's okay. It's Jonathan put the mouse over your picture. That was
Okay. No
my
worries.
mistake. Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to say something. It's about concentration, because we know there is concentration every moment there is concentration. But when we talk about concentration, like concentrating for more than a moment, it means that we concentrate on something which is already fallen away. So how can it be wholesome? Concentrating on something which is not there anymore. It's just, concentration is just one moment and then it's gone. And then there is another concentration. But because the chitta changes and concentration also falls away and arises in the next chitta. And what we refer to concentration as, like for whatever we do, it's not to be taken for granted that it is wholesome at all. Actually, I think it's more likely that it is unwholesome, because the wholesome moments are the moments when we don't think about ourselves, when we are not concentrating on in our interests, like can be anything, because attachment can attach to anything, and that's why we learning the teachings of the Buddha, to understand the absolute truth, because we can see that what we usually regard as in some way we are used to, actually is not like that. It's not like that at all. And we begin to slowly and gradually to see the truth, which is the absolute truth. It's not that the object we can concentrate is there again every time we concentrate on it, because that's not the absolute truth that the Buddha taught. I think
we have to distinguish between concentration in the absolute sense with each citta, and in the conventional general way, and that is very confusing. We think of I concentrate on this and that. That is more in general, and that's really not really interesting. It's better to know the citta at this or that moment.
So maybe you think it's not very useful, anapanasati and so on.
Anapanasati, it depends. It is a very, very difficult subject, and we have to have right understanding about what is breathing and what is breath. And Buddha said this is a subject for people who are very, very advanced and not for everybody, because we can say in general, oh, I concentrate on my breath, but that is quite a different, again, in conventional sense and not in the absolute sense.
Thank you.
So, in brief, our understanding is that it would not be correct to characterize anapanasati as concentrating on the breath, because the anapanasati does have breath as object, but like everything else, it has to arise naturally rather than by selection. So we can select any reality to concentrate on. We could select seeing or visible object or attachment or aversion or concentration. But to our understanding, this is not the teaching of the Buddha to select an object to concentrate on. His teaching is the development of an awareness and understanding of a reality that is appearing at the present moment. And any reality can be the object of that kind of awareness and understanding. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be one reality or another. So whatever is a reality appearing now is potentially capable of being object of awareness and understanding, but it is not the case that he taught the selection of this or that reality to be understood, particularly in preference to any other reality.
If there's wrong understanding about concentration, sometimes ago you talked about playing chess and doing things which require special attention, and you were wondering whether there could be mindfulness of nama and rupa at those moments. So, of course, every reality can be known, and it is no hindrance when you play chess or do things which acquire special attention, because life has to carry on as usual. But there are realities, and when listening and considering, we begin to understand more about what those realities are, and then there are less misunderstandings about concentration.
Ajahn, would you like to say anything on this topic?
About concentration? Or what? Because I think that when we talk about the words, we think that we understand the meaning of the word. But what about the truth of that? For example, we used to think about concentration. Is it real? What is it? The point of study the truth is to understand the truth of this very moment. Otherwise, there is no truth to be understood at all. When we talk about concentration, what is it? Is it there now or not? Otherwise, we cannot understand concentration at all. We just talk about the word, about the breath, and so on. But what about each one as it is, just arising and falling away? and that which arises and falling away cannot be object yet. When we talk about cetasikas like phassa and so on, but the understanding of that, what is there at this moment? No self. So what is it? Many things arising together, and there can be the understanding of just one characteristic at a time, to be sure, to be confident of the truth that actually what is life? If nothing arises at all, can there be any life? So from nothing before we were born, no we at all. And then there is birth for whatever there is life, there must be birth. And what is that? How come to be different from moment to moment? Otherwise, it keep on thinking about the self and our own idea about this and that the whole life, not understanding this moment as it is. Whether is it me or I, or what is it? Even we use the word concentration. What is that? We just talk about the degree of concentration when it is the jhana and so on, absorption, concentration and on. But what is that? How come, little by little, to be such? Because what is there as understanding? If there is no understanding now, in a moment, how can there be more? That's why we have to understand the point of we are talking about, to understand the absolute truth of whatever is now there appearing, because there cannot be understanding of the truth at all, that it's not permanent. What is seen is gone, and what does not appear, or even it appears and then it's gone, no more. But we keep on thinking that it's still there, like my leg, my hand, my friend, my home, and so on. But what is really there at that very moment? No one, no home, but there must be the moment which there is that which arises and experience. Seeing is that which is conditioned to arise. Even we are talking about what now, there is seeing. Who can make it arise? We think that we can make it, we can choose it. Not as we think at all, because we are talking and thinking about other things, but there is conditions for seeing to arise and falls away instant all the time, unknown. So the point is to understand life as it is to understand whatever is now appearing. And without the words from the enlightened one, nobody can know what is there now at all. So very deep and very subtle. And the subtlety of that which Buddha taught about is at this moment of seeing. It's so subtle. Hearing is subtle. Everything is so subtle because it's now and no one knows about it. That's why is there concentration at this moment? And why is concentration? How short or long it is different from when there's more or less. And there must be right understanding, otherwise it's wrong concentration because there's no understanding. What the use of having wrong concentration with idea of self? That I try, I can make it arise. Even those who have developed the concentration or peace or calmness up to the degree of jhana, Buddha said it's not the right path because no understanding of this moment as it is. So what's the use? Because it's gone. What has been experienced in this life? No more. The past is the past. What about the girl or the boy? And now, where are they? Develop until it is this moment. See? Nothing can still live. It just arises and falls away. Even concentration, it cannot last at all. Whatever arises has to fall away in split seconds. But the reputation of the arising and falling of that particular one can be known little by little. For example, seeing right now. Right understanding can understand that which appears, not that which does not appear. So in order to have right understanding, no matter of this seeing moment or peace of concentration, it has to be there at that very moment. Otherwise, no understanding, and take it for concentration or calmness, but actually without understanding directly whether what is said, it's impossible to be wholesome because of no understanding. Ignorance is there. So how can ignorance be wholesome? Impossible. That's why it takes time to develop the understanding which is so true to the truth which is now appearing. It is not there anymore. Even it's seen as something permanent. But actually, that which is seen as nimitta of that which arises and falls away, as long as there are conditions to see it. So when we talk about anything, there should be more understanding of the truth, the absolute truth of it, not as we think. Each word should be clear because it conditions clear understanding better and better from the word of the enlightened one, like that which experiences is now, and what is that which is experienced? A bird, a cat? Not at all. When it is seeing, no idea, no concept, it's only that which appears as the object of seeing. And there is no lasting seeing at all. Just see and then falls away, arises to see and then fall away. From moment to moment. In life, only one moment. Just one moment and then gone. Each moment is like that. By conditions. When we learn to understand how many conditions for that arising reality, there can be more confidence of no one and no thing at all. Before there can be a house to live, space is there, nothing is there. And then there must be the building, little by little. It's just like what Buddha compared to is this body and mind, the house from space, nothing. And that which arises falls away instantly. Who knows? Without the teaching of the Enlightened One. And he also taught the way to attain such understanding. From the very beginning, the intellectual understanding and direct understanding, and then penetration, the truth, because of having such understanding, more of direct understanding of what is there now. One by one, never the same. So just to study and consider whether it is true or not, only that. No expectation for this and that, but for understanding the truth. Otherwise, one lives in the world without any understanding of what is there from birth to death at all. Just for the sake of understanding, and understanding cannot be taken from me too, because it arises and falls away, and it has conditions for its arising. Otherwise, it cannot arise. Have confidence on the truth of there is no one, there are only different absolute realities conditioned to arise just to be such only, and then gone, never to return. So when we talk about any word, what is the truth of it? Concentration, see? How come? Is it now? Can it be known? When it does not appear, even it's there, who can know? So what is there? can be object of studying and understanding the truth of it. How can there be just one moment of citta experiences one object only? See, there must be understanding for what conditions that to be such. Not many objects at once to be experienced, only one at a time. What? How come to be only that? The truth. Nobody can change. It's the way to understand life as it is, the absolute truth of whatever is there in the world. And what is the world? How come the world? And where is the world? That can be known by hearing the truth, considering it to be what is right and what is wrong. For example, when we talk about concentration, what is that? Right or wrong? Is it there now? Talk about that, which even is there now. When it's not talked about, no one can know it.
And I think, David, last time we mentioned that there is one moment of experiencing, one moment of consciousness after another throughout life. Each moment of consciousness is called a citta, and each citta is accompanied by at least 7 cetasikas or mental factors that arise with the citta and experience the same object. So as we said, at a moment of touching, one of those cetasikas is feeling or vedana. There is feeling at every moment in life, experiencing the same object as the citta. Another one is phassa or contact, which contacts the object that the citta and the other cetasikas experience at every moment. Another cetasika that arises at every moment in life is ekaggata, and this is concentration or one-pointedness. Because of this cetasika, there is only one object experienced at a time by each citta throughout life. So at the moment of seeing or hearing or other result cittas, concentration is there. One-pointedness of the object, the visible object or the sound that is experienced by that result citta. And at moments of wholesomeness or unwholesomeness, kusala or akusala, concentration is there at each of those moments. So at moments of kindness, considering the other's welfare, the citta is kusala and the concentration is kusala at those moments. At moments of understanding or wise considering about different realities like now, the concentration is kusala. But at moments that I would like to concentrate on a particular object in order to be aware, like if I would like to concentrate on painful feeling, or I would like to concentrate on breath in order to have more calmness, for example, is it kusala or akusala? If the purpose is to have more calmness for oneself, is that citta, is that concentration kusala or akusala? So one has to consider carefully, because there's concentration at every moment in life. If the thinking is with the wrong idea that I can focus or select a particular object, if there is wrong understanding, the concentration must be wrong at those moments too. So we see how subtle it is. So each concentration at each moment is conditioned. It can be result, it can be wholesome, it can be unwholesome, or none of those, but each one is conditioned by different causes. So considering about the different realities is the way to understand that there is no self, no one who can focus, no one who can decide what will arise, no one who can concentrate on anything. As Alberto said, by the time there's concentrating on the hardness now or the painful feeling, the hardness or the painful feeling is long since gone. So it's just the clinging to I that would like to concentrate on that object at that moment. So this is why the emphasis is on understanding, because only through understanding can it be known whether it's wholesome or unwholesome concentration. Only through understanding can it be known that all these different realities are not self, not I, that can do or select or concentrate or practice or apply or anything at all.
I would like to know if you and Ajahn have some suggestion for people who have not got a philosophical background and which are facing very difficult reality of disease and death. What can you say to help these people beside the control of pain? Because we know that even if I use morphine and control the pain, there is also a suffering which is not a body pain for people who have come to the end of life. So if you have some suggestion, people who does not know anything about Buddhism, some exercise, some meditation, which I can suggest to these people.
It would be nice if there was something that one could generally roll out in that situation. But the reality is that everyone is different. Different by accumulation, different by knowledge, different by experience, different by understanding, different by temperament. And so what may be helpful for one may not be helpful for another. And who are we to know what is the particular thing that will be of most benefit to a given individual? And so I think we should be wary about trying to find something like that, because it somewhat contradicts what we understand about the diversity of different individuals. But what we can say generally is that anything that helps to understand more about the reality of the present moment is what is most helpful for any person in any situation, because that understanding we take to be something that is never lost. So even though we may not be able to point to any benefit that it may bring in the short time remaining in this life, nevertheless, it is carried forward. And because in the long run, life in samsara involves the ugly experience of illness and painfulness and death repeatedly over and over. And something that we might say now that would be helpful in the moment doesn't have any long-term benefit in that regard. So it always comes back to an understanding of the present moment.
David, I think what maybe is probably another way of thinking about it is thinking the development of understanding for yourself will perhaps bring more compassion, so that when you deal with the people you deal with, you will be able to have more compassion, and in them you will know what to say to them.
And like you said, David, what the painful feeling and the mental anguish are two different things. I was discussing this with Nina recently. The Buddha talked about the two different arrows. The first arrow is the pain, the bodily pain, and the second arrow is the anguish and the mental disturbance, which makes the situation so much worse. I think people can appreciate this, that the anguish and the disturbance aggravates the problem so much. And whatever arises in life doesn't last. The pain doesn't last. The seeing doesn't last. The hearing doesn't last. The anguish doesn't last. Nothing lasts at all. And life goes on from moment to moment. In the deepest sense, there is death now, death of each moment of experience at each moment. And at the end of this life, it's just like now, death of another moment. And then like falling asleep and waking up, another moment in another life, on and on and on. So nothing to be so disturbed about, because it's just another moment, just like now, like walking over a bridge or traveling to a different country, new experience. So actually, the more understanding there is about this moment and how there are just different moments of consciousness falling away, what's gone is gone, or the disturbance of yesterday is completely gone, what hasn't come, but what about just understanding at this moment and understanding what is useful right now, the kindness, the calmness, and most of all, understanding that it's just a moment of consciousness, not I that can control anything. Because there's so much anguish when there's the idea that I should do something, or I can control it, or I should feel this way. So letting go of the burden at this moment is the way that understanding develops, and there's more and more letting go of the big burden of the wrong idea of I that can control or make things happen by will.
Thank you.
And then the Abhidhamma is so helpful because it teaches us about the different processes of cittas. And then we learn that a moment of vipaka or result is just one very short moment. So if there is pain, it's very, very short. And then in that same process, the kusala or akusala cittas which follow are a bit longer than that one moment of vipaka. And then we attach so much importance to, is it pleasant feeling or painful feeling? And that is, as Sarah said, makes life so difficult and so much disturbance when I are thinking a long time about our pain or unpleasant experience.
And David, you have said that what should be have been done or like that is understand that Dhamma is Dhamma. No one, no you, uncontrollable. Uncontrollable means there's just Dhamma. It's not that something can be done. Yeah. So there's nothing that can be done. Is just referring to Dhamma that arises by condition. Because if we don't, and if there's still idea of do and think, it mean that it didn't understand yet that it's Dhamma that how nothing can be done or do or like that. Yeah. So.
I think the understanding works its way, like Betty said, the more understanding, the more it just knows what is best. Just do one's best at the time. Sometimes the best thing is, with kusala, sometimes the best thing is sitting quietly and just listening or holding someone's hand, or so any understanding helps because it conditions different kinds of kusala in different ways at different times.
Thank you.
I think of the situation being experienced by medical workers now in India, for example, not only there, but particularly there at the moment, where patients are dying left, right, and center. And they would like to be doing more to help, but the situation is such that it's just not possible. And we don't know, it's never possible to know what will be of most help to someone in a given situation. So, as Betty and Sarah have said, one's own wholesome development is what is the best tool or best qualification to guide one as to what to do in a given situation.
Whether Ajahn can add something, because Ajahn helped so many people also by her gesture, not just by words. So it's very nice if we can hear more.
I think that the best way is to be understanding person, because we cannot change anyone at all, but we can be good friend and help that person to be in a wholesome manner, so matter what, and don't hurt that person, and then try to do good, and then try to help that person to be good too, in any way. But no one can force anything to arise at all. Only be kind and compassion. Do one's best, that's all, as much as one can do. So when there is the understanding about what he likes or what she likes and what can be the best thing for her at that time, do it, help her too. Only that we can do. When it's time to talk about Dhamma, not in the term Abhidhamma and so on, but the way in the daily life can condition some thought about the truth. Everything is just like that. Try to help the person not to be hurt. I think that's all one can do. And we cannot say anything fixed because it all depends on situation and circumstance too.
And I think we've all had the experience in life of wanting to help, say, a family member or someone close to us in a difficult situation, whether it's a medical situation or some other problem they are facing. And we know from that experience how difficult it is to find the right words or to know exactly what is the right way to give assistance, because people will react according to their own accumulated tendency, and some may respond and others may we may have unintentionally get them more agitated than they already are. So it's not an easy thing to give a general suggestion about. Only our own understanding and wholesome consciousness can guide us.
Like even in Buddha, even Buddha say, if the person who cannot understand, so what can I do? It's not that it has to be according to condition and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think that to be good friend, not in just that situation, anytime, any moment too.
Yeah, Ajahn. Of course.
Thank you very much for your suggestions.
Usually we think about the others, but what about the understanding of what we take for one's own, like now? So when there's more understanding of the truth of what we take for I, and there can be more understanding, more helpful too, for the other to understand that.
Yes.
David, you have any other question you want to ask?
Me?
Do you have any question or any doubt you want to ask?
Or anyone else, if
Maybe a lot of questions. Maybe with time I will have.
Alan or Anli or anyone else, do you have any, as we don't have much time, do you have anything you would like to bring up?
Yes, may I ask something?
Yeah, go ahead, Anli.
Yes. So Ajahn and also Sarah, Kun Sarah and John, and also Kun Haji said a lot about concentrations. So yes, I would like to just make a quick confirmation. So actually, the concept for so after hearing a lot, so my summary is like this: the concentration itself is always there because it's universal cetasika. So the concentration is always there. So, for example, in a sorry that I talk about situations again, but for example, someone that never heard about the words from the Buddha and also doesn't know anything about Paramatha Dhamma, but for example, they wish to practice concentration. It's fairly easy for them to actually achieve the wrong concentration, right? Because a low bar is always there. For example, I choose to play chess, and so there's a lot of low bar, a lot of clinging on the concept, such as players, such as the chess itself, or such as winning itself, right? And the wrong understanding is always there. The ideas of self always there. So, in some sense, yes, the dry concentrations or dry understanding is very rare. It's very difficult because the conditions for those cetasikas to arise is very rare. But in reverse, it's very easy to achieve the wrong concentration for anyone who wishes to practice concentration, right? Because the conditions for arising of wrong concentrations almost always around. I don't know whether I.
So that's why the Buddha.
My point.
So that's why the Buddha taught about the right path and the wrong path. So it's very easy to follow the wrong path with wrong understanding, wrong concentration, wrong effort, wrong awareness, wrong everything. And the right path is very subtle and very difficult and has to begin with the understanding of dhammas that are anatta. And when playing chess or when cooking or when swimming, for example, there's lots of concentration with lobha, like you say, but not the idea that the cooking or the chess or the swimming will lead to discovering the truth of life. So lots of ordinary loba. It's different from when there is focusing on an object with the idea that that will lead to more goodness or more calmness or more understanding. That kind of focusing on concentration is dangerous because it leads with wrong view to the wrong path. One has the idea that the more of this kind of concentrating or focusing, the closer one will become to discovering the truth or developing calm. So it actually leads more further and further away from the right path, different from just the ordinary attachment in daily life when playing chess or cooking, which can be known when it arises as just ordinary attachment most of the time.
Yes, thank you. So it depends on the purpose, right? If the purpose is to develop understanding or develop pana, such kinds of concentration and such kinds of practice become more and more, especially dangerous.
More and more dangerous,
yes,
because motivated with the idea of
yes,
I, that this is the path. So that's why people will go on longer and longer retreats and cut themselves off more and more from daily life with the idea that that kind of focus or concentration will bring special results and special experiences.
Yes, thank you very much. It's clearer to me. So it's a really dangerous traps. Yes.
As we've said here, often there is attachment now following the seeing and the hearing and the thinking, just not particularly strong, but there nonetheless all the time. And with that attachment is wrong concentration, but it's not the kind of wrong concentration that takes one on the wrong path. So it's not with wrong view. As Sarah was explaining, it's only when there is an idea that the concentration will bring a particular result, that it includes, that it amounts to wrong view.
Or strong wrong view.
Alan, do you have any question?
Hello, can you hear me okay? Oh. Hello?
All good, Alan, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, earlier on, you were talking about gradually learning about Nama and Rupa. So gradually learning about the reality which experiences and the reality which doesn't experience it. But I've always understood that the clear understanding of Nama as distinct from Rupa is Vipassana. That's not a gradual thing. That's quite a high level of understanding. So to understand the reality which is Nama is, how can that be gradual? If that's understood, that's Vipassana, isn't it?
But if there isn't the beginning of considering wisely, like now, that seeing is a reality which is experiences different from the visible object which is seen, if there isn't the beginning of the careful and wise considering about these different realities as not self, how can there ever be the developed understanding, the direct understanding, which is Satipatthana, and the very clear understanding, which is Vipassana Jnana? So it has to begin now. It has to begin with the wise considering about that which one hasn't heard before coming across the Buddha's teachings, the considering about different realities like concentration arising at each moment, focusing on an object, the rupas such as sound and visible object that don't experience anything, not something, not someone. If there isn't this considering and beginning to understand about different namas and rupas as not self, there can never be the gradual development, the direct understanding of the realities. And
so the gradual understanding that we're talking about is really pariyatti. It's not the direct understanding. So the direct understanding of Nama as distinct from Rupa is isn't pariyatti. That's pati.
Pati, and then
Yeah.
Pati Veda when it's Vipassana Jnana. So it has to begin now with pariyatti, the right intellectual understanding about the different realities. And David mentioned some people are not interested in philosophizing, but it depends on accumulations. Some people are very interested in philosophizing, but are not able to hear about the different realities in life now, whereas some people have no interest in philosophizing, but when they hear that it's just visible object that's seen, no thing, no one, there can be conditions to understand and appreciate it. So don't know.
Could you explain the meaning of the word pati? As I understand, does that mean approach a particular object? Is that right?
Right, approach a particular object of understanding. So the understanding understands a particular object, a reality, which is directly known.
And patana, as in satipatthana, what does the word patana mean?
Well, there's three different meanings of satipatthana, but patana as the foundation of sati. So the object which is experienced by sati with understanding is the foundation for that sati to be aware of the object.
Direct awareness.
So patana means the object of the right object of understanding.
Actually, the three meanings of satipatthana, one is referring to the cetasika sati, which arises with understanding to be aware of the reality. One is the path that has been followed by those who've become enlightened, the path of development of sati and panya. And one meaning refers to the objects of sati, the rupas, the vedana, the any reality, which is the object. But
do you actually know that what the word means, what the derivation of the word patana? What is the word?
Well, maybe Sundara can say something, but the Bhikkhu Bodhi gives a footnote in his translation about the word patana, and it's capable of more than one meaning.
Okay.
Doesn't appear much elsewhere in the teachings, so it's mainly in that particular sutta mentioned. And it's sometimes translated as foundation, sometimes translated as arousing of awareness. But
Ellen, as Jonathan is saying there, it's going to depend on the context. If you want to look at it sort of strictly from a word sense, so the way to understand words from a grammatical sense in Pali is, as with any language actually, the word is ta. The root of that satipatthana is ta, which means it's similar to the English word station or stand or stop. All those mean like a basis or a place. And so pat, and then you've got the prefix word pa, which is an intensifying process, which means like firm or strong. And then satipatthana, the whole lot together, I would translate it as the basis for the development of understanding. So even though you mightn't exactly get those words, the word itself, it will depend upon the context. But if you want to break it up little by little, like in the case of patthana, you look at the word ta, which means foundation. As I said, you find that word in the English word station, stop, all those kind of words that relate to a place, if you like.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, thank you. That helps with that meaning of that word. Yeah.
I don't know if I said it, but the word station Yeah, station is another almost exact translation of that word.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so it's similar to pati pati in a way, isn't it? It's the firm understanding of one object, I guess. The right object.
Well, yeah, you could say that, I guess. I'm just trying to, when I think of the word pati pati, or in Thai, as they say, pati pat, that has a different meaning as opposed to when we're talking about satipatthana, because we're talking there about the following of the path at a particular point in time with understanding as the basis for that following. So,
right.
You know, so when we look at each of those words like pariyatti, which has a root up, you know, you can go into the words in great detail, but as we know, if there's not, in the case of pariyatti, the skillful understanding, that will not be a basis for the patipatti to follow. And of course, that will not lead to the pativedha, which is the, the last step, so to speak. So they're all, in a way, complement each other, but there has to be the correct understanding for one to facilitate the other.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Sundara. I think time is up for everyone. Ajahn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
อนุโมทนา
คุณค่าสวัสดีครับอาจารย์
And by all workers.
Happy birthday, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Tam, for your